This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, they've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. They work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join their mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years. A jury has awarded $17 million to a woman in a medical malpractice suit after a surgical tool was left in her abdomen following a tumor removal. And New Mexico House Democrats have proposed legislation to address New Mexico's healthcare issues in the upcoming 2025 legislative session. Albuquerque Journal Assistant Business Editor Megan Gleason stops by to tell us all about it. Plus, a Volcano Vista High School student is suing APS and school officials, alleging her free speech was violated. Albuquerque Journal reporter Kevin Opshal has the latest on the lawsuit and shares the details with us. It's Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. I'm Gino Gutierrez, and I'll have more on those stories plus other headlines from the Journal's newsroom and a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast coming up on the Leading News. A jury awarded nearly $17 million to Michelle Torma, a New Mexico woman who endured 2 months with a 13-inch metal retractor in her left abdomen after a 2019 surgery at Presbyterian Hospital. The award includes $15 million in punitive damages against Presbyterian Healthcare Services, the state's largest healthcare system, and $1.75 million in compensatory damages, with Presbyterian covering 99% of the latter. Torma's initial surgery, described as a complex and life-saving one, involved removing a 75-pound benign tumor. However, a second surgery in March of 2019 revealed a forgotten retractor which had caused her significant pain. Torma sued Presbyterian and Southwest Women's Oncology and Dr. Karen Finkelstein, a gynecologic oncologist who performed the procedure, alleging medical negligence. Jurors deliberated for 2 hours after a week-long trial, rejecting Presbyterian's argument that the error was a rare human mistake despite their policies and training designed to prevent such incidents. Torma's attorneys sought $45 million, emphasizing the need for improved safety measures and accountability. Presbyterian expressed regret for the incident and stated that they've implemented additional training to avoid similar errors. The surgeon's attorney argued that Dr. Finkelstein relied on Presbyterian's staff equipment count and was not directly at fault. Presbyterian has not indicated whether it plans to appeal the verdict. New Mexico House Democrats have proposed legislation ahead of the 2025 legislative session to address healthcare issues across New Mexico. With more on what they're hoping to pass, I'm now joined by Albuquerque Journal Assistant Business Editor Megan Gleason, who's been following this story. Megan, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course.
So Megan, the legislation these House Democrats are proposing is focusing on nurse-to-patient ratios, housing subsidies for medical providers, and a recruitment program for healthcare workers. But how are they planning to tackle all of this during the session?
Well, Representative Eleanor Chavez, Representative Kathleen Cates, and Representative-elect Mariana Anaya all met Tuesday morning in Albuquerque to talk about different bills that they plan to introduce. Like you said, nurse-to-patient ratios, housing subsidies, providing lists of resources to healthcare professionals, with the goal ultimately to recruit and retain medical professionals, which we know we're lacking in New Mexico.
And the announcement of these healthcare priorities from the House Democrats, Megan, comes a day after the House GOP announced their 2025 legislative agenda. And one of the cornerstones that they're looking to act on is healthcare, specifically malpractice. They're looking at malpractice lawsuits payouts and also the cost of malpractice insurance in the state, with hopes of keeping more healthcare providers here in New Mexico. But House Democrats today were criticizing the GOP and their priorities. What exactly were their critiques?
Yeah, they said it's really a myth that the reason doctors aren't coming to New Mexico and staying in New Mexico is because the cap is too high on medical malpractice damages. They said it's really more about the quality of the workplace environment for medical professionals and not the fact that insurance rates are too high. So the three ideas that these Central New Mexico House Democrats propose are really they're in opposition, I guess one could say, to a move to lower the cap on medical malpractice damages.
So medical malpractice sure to be a hot button issue as the session gets ready to kick off here in just about a week. But let's shift gears, Megan, to corporate influence and healthcare quality. The Democratic representatives have highlighted research showing that private equity hospitals here in New Mexico contribute a 25% rise in complications due to cost-cutting practices, and they're also arguing that corporate greed is a significant factor in the state's healthcare crisis, saying it impacts both patient outcomes and staffing conditions as well.
Yeah, I mean, Representative Chavez said that New Mexico has one of the highest private equity presences in hospitals in the nation. And so what these three women were trying to express was that we need to fight against the money controlling these factors and hospitals being for profit and put the needs of providers and patients first.
And Megan, much like the GOP on Monday, the Democratic lawmakers really echoed the need for bipartisan collaboration, and that comes even though despite they're in the majority in the legislature. So they really want to reach across the aisle, work with their Republican colleagues, and they're also looking for ways to appeal to a new medical workforce and really get more medical professionals to come back into the state.
Yeah, and I mean, the Democrats having the majority in the legislature, they don't need the support of Republicans to get these through, to get them to the governor's desk. But they did say, these three representatives said that they are trying to get Republicans to join them on these bills because it's always better to have collaboration rather than fight back and forth and have less time to talk about other issues that New Mexicans have.
So healthcare, a top issue for both Democrats and Republicans as we head into the 2025 legislative session. Albuquerque Journal Assistant Business Editor Megan Gleason with the latest. Thank you so much, Megan.
Thanks, Gino.
If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on the Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber to the Albuquerque Journal. You can check our show notes for a discount code on a digital subscription and keep up with all the latest news from New Mexico's leading news source. A Volcano Vista High School student who is identified as NS is suing Albuquerque Public Schools and school officials, alleging her free speech was violated. With more on this story, I'm joined by Albuquerque Journal reporter Kevin Opshal. He's been following this lawsuit. Kevin, why is she saying that her free speech was violated?
Well, a sequence of events occurred. On November 12th, she had an argument with another student, and activity director George Woods came in and told them to cut it out. The next day, the student was told by Woods that she would be suspended from her Student Senate Community Service class. And the next day, she took to Snapchat, calling the decision a disgrace and hurling a bunch of expletives at the school, a message she later deleted. But on November 18th, she met with the principal, Melissa Cedillo, and her parents, and it was announced that the student would not be a vice president of the student body, that she wouldn't be in her class anymore, and most of all, that she would not be speaking at her high school graduation in May. And at that point, her father, Bruce Sears, filed a complaint in our federal court saying that her daughter's free speech rights were violated.
And Kevin, in this lawsuit, NS's attorney is referencing a 2021 U.S. Supreme Court case, Mahoney Area School District versus BL. Why are they referencing this case in particular?
Well, they're referencing it because, quite frankly, they see a lot of parallels between the SCOTUS case and the case that they're trying. The similarity is that you have a Pennsylvania high school student who tried out for the varsity cheerleading team. She didn't make the cut, and she's in a convenience store one day, and she takes to Snapchat, and she blasts the decision. She too felt like her free speech rights were violated, and it came out to be an 8-1 decision in her favor, with Clarence Thomas being the dissent. And, we'll see if the Volcano Vista lawyers are able to make the case using the SCOTUS case.
And Kevin, on the other side of this argument, Albuquerque Public Schools attorney is arguing that NS's speech was not protected because they claim it violated the trust of an advisor, therefore is different from the Mahoney case, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Also, the attorneys in our Volcano Vista case point out that the BL case was a case where a student used profane language in the context of an extracurricular activity. Now, the Volcano Vista case, student government is extracurricular, but the APS lawyer feels like NS violated the student government constitution and violated the student government advisor, George Woods. So there is a distinction between these two cases.
And Kevin, one of the more interesting parts of the story is what NS is looking to get out of this lawsuit. She really just wants her position restored, it seems.
Yes, well, it noted that no monetary award except for the attorney fees. They're not even asking for a jury trial. Really, quite simply, they're putting this on the district. They're saying, give the student back her vice presidency in the student government, put her back in the community service class, and last but not least, let her speak at commencement because, this is a really inspiring speech. And so I think they are just trying to put the student's life back together as she sees it her senior year.
And Kevin, there's a hearing coming up this Friday for this case. What can we expect to happen there?
Well, the attorney for the student tells me that Friday's hearing is a status conference. What's going on with the case, essentially. And the parties will meet in federal court, and the judge and the parties will decide whether a preliminary injunction hearing and another hearing is required to find whether the APS in the school's conduct was unconstitutional. If they agree a separate hearing is required, another hearing will be scheduled, and we'll have to wait to hear when that is.
So this lawsuit very much still fluid, Kevin, as we await this hearing on Friday between this Volcano Vista High School student, the district, and some school officials. Thank you so much for sharing the latest with us.
Thank you, Gino.
In other headlines from the newsroom, Leslie Hilema has been named the new CEO and president of the New Mexico Chamber of Commerce and will start the role on January 23rd. She replaces Rob Black, who transitioned to the New Mexico Economic Development Department. Hilema brings over 15 years of experience in business development and economic growth, including leadership at the Orlando Regional Chamber of Commerce, where she focused on innovation and entrepreneurship. She previously served as Chief Marketing Officer and Senior Vice President at Cable Labs and ran her own consulting firm, Quantum Strategy Lab. She holds degrees in electrical engineering from the Florida Institute of Technology and the University of Michigan, as well as a management degree from Boston University. Her appointment coincides with New Mexico's 60-day legislative session, where the chamber will address key issues such as healthcare, workforce development, energy, and taxation. Hilema plans to prioritize growing innovative industries, including quantum computing, by fostering collaborations between businesses, communities, and policymakers. New Mexico Chamber of Commerce Board Chair Lean Kravitz praised Hilema as a, quote, ideal leader to enhance the chamber's impact statewide. And Lindy's Diner, a Route 66 icon in downtown Albuquerque, will remain open despite earlier plans to sell. Owners Steve and Don Vadisau cite challenges, including costly renovations needed for the historic Bliss building that houses the diner. Open since 1929, Lindy's has weathered decades of change, but continues with a small staff and shorter hours post-pandemic. The couple remain committed to serving their loyal customers. Looking for something to do today? Start your morning with coffee, snacks, and a heart-to-heart about the community and city businesses at Equal Grounds at the Mystic Santa Fe from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. And a holiday-themed courtyard story time is taking place at Tony Hillerman Public Library from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 46, and tonight mostly clear with a low around 18. To keep up with all the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal, you can visit our website at abqjournal.com. For the leading news, I'm Gino Gutierrez.